are going to do a project coming up with symbols from The Great Gatsby, and you are going to produce a digital product for me called a Padlet, which I will teach you how to do. And it's important that we talk about digital citizenship before we start getting into using technology in our class for assignments. So let's talk about legal use. Legal use is when you give credit to your sources and you don't copy paste from anywhere or take someone else's ideas and use them verbatim without giving them credit, okay? So why does it matter? Well, it protects creators' work and ideas. And look, I have a typo in here because I need an apostrophe after creators to show that the work belongs to the creators. I'll fix that. It builds academic integrity. It helps avoid plagiarism and its consequences, and it shows respect for intellectual property. So we don't want to use AI or anyone else's work in an illegal matter. Okay, so let's talk about the basics of copyright. Copyright is what protects original works like art, books, music, websites. It automatically applies to anyone who creates new work. So you have your copyright privileges automatically applied to your work as soon as it's created and shared. And again, we're showing respect for intellectual property. If you wrote a song, right, and put it out on the internet, and somebody completely stole your song and then put it out as their music and their song, I'm thinking you might be very angry. And so the same applies for everything that we find out on the internet that is someone else's intellectual property. Intellectual property means they thought of it, right? Okay, so citing sources. We are going to really work hard this year on helping you cite sources because next year in senior year, I think whoever you have as a teacher is going to assume that you already know how to do this. So the reason we cite sources is it gives credit to the original author, it helps readers find the source, it avoids plagiarism. And when do we cite sources? For direct quotes, for paraphrased ideas, for images, charts, and videos, and for any information that is not your own original thought. We will talk about MLA formatting of how to cite our sources as we get into writing a paper much later in the semester. But as we do this first digital product, you may have to consult some sources, and I'll have you do a works cited for those. So the consequences of misuse, especially of something like AI, there are academic penalties, like a 0 on your assignment. Sometimes there's disciplinary action if you continue to paste AI into your documents and assignments and submit it as your own. And then there's a loss of credibility and trust between you and me, right? If I catch you using AI or plagiarizing from the internet or taking someone else's work, you know, that kind of puts a dent in our relationship. And then once you get into the real world, you might have legal issues. Come on, slide. Okay, so what about paraphrasing tools? Are they okay to use? Well, a lot of kids think that AI paraphrasing tools are okay to use because they wrote the original text and AI is just fixing it. Not really. Because if you wrote that original text, but then AI completely transforms it, is it your work? Once AI rewrites your work, the words are no longer your own. And so then it becomes 100% plagiarized. So getting AI to reword your assessment is the same as getting someone else to write it for you. Even if the ideas are yours, the language isn't. So it's no longer considered original. Grammarly is kind of a fine line. A lot of kids like to run their work through Grammarly and have it, you know, fix things. I'm okay with Grammarly fixing, maybe some of your punctuation errors, but there are features on Grammarly that will rewrite something for you. And I don't want you doing that because I want your words. So best practices are to take good notes on your sources, keep track of your URLs, authors, and dates, use Noodle tools for your citation creation and keep track of your sources, and when in doubt, cite it. We'll go spend half a period in the Media Center with either Mrs. Hunt or Mrs. Young, and they'll do a quick refresher lesson for you on how to cite your sources using Noodle tools. Noodle tools is fabulous. The county pays for it. So it's available for you as like one of the Lassiter databases. And you can put your sources in it and it will create your works cited page. If you had me last year, you know this. I don't know if the teacher you had last year used Noodle tools, but I'm gonna teach you because it is very, very valuable. Safety first on the internet. You always wanna protect your personal information. You don't wanna put your full name, address, phone number, and school anywhere out there on the web where it's not a safe site or a place that you should be putting that information. Make sure your passwords are strong and unique. Be cautious with links and downloads. Sometimes those are viruses, so be careful with those. And then keep your privacy settings up to date. So you want to protect yourself on the internet. As you look at different sites, you may see some pop-up ads. Do not fall for phishing, which are fake emails or messages asking for your personal information, or scams, offers that sound too good to be true, like get this new pair of Jordans for only $10.99 if you send us all your information. Like, that's not happening. Strangers online, not everyone is who they say they are. And then oversharing, just make sure you're not posting too much of your personal detail. Okay, so there's this term netiquette. I don't know if you've heard this before, but it means internet etiquette. And I hope you know what etiquette means. Etiquette is like manners, right? The way you behave. And so netiquette is rules for respectful and responsible online communication. And it helps us create a positive digital environment. Especially when you're working as a student, you may be partnered with someone you don't know very well, or someone that is very quiet and you've never really gotten to know each other. And you want to make sure that you are very respectful to your partner or your group members as you all work together. So netiquette guidelines are obviously be polite and respectful with your tone. Avoid all caps, especially if you're like messaging somebody. It feels like shouting. And then of course, stay on topic in your discussions and think before you post or send. So if you have a partner or a group, you will all have access to your same Noodle tools. And if you're making like a Canva or Google Slides, you will all have access to that. And you'll have each other's email addresses so that you can communicate. So you want to practice all of these netiquette guidelines as you communicate with your classmates and if you're communicating with your teacher. So in academics, we want to use proper grammar and spelling in our school communications. We want to respect our classmates and teachers' ideas. Don't copy paste answers from the internet, and give constructive feedback, not rude comments. I know sometimes you guys are playing, right? You're teasing, you're working with someone who's a friend, and you tell them, that maybe their slide that they made looks like trash, or you tell them they're stupid or they're dumb. Sometimes even if you're playing, that kind of negativity can hurt feelings, can make somebody feel embarrassed about their contributions. So maybe keep that out of when you're working on a project. So what are you gonna need when we do our assignment about The Great Gatsby? Obviously, laptop and charger. I would love for you all to bring your chargers to school and not have I don't have a charger problem. A free Padlet account, and I'm gonna show you how to make one, so you're not gonna spend any money. You're gonna use our classroom on CTLS. Noodle Tools from the school databases, and then obviously your copy of The Great Gatsby. So what's our topic? You're gonna choose and work with one symbol from the novel. And I'm gonna give you more details after we read a few more chapters. Today's lesson is a warm-up for what is coming soon. So far we have the symbols of the Valley of Ashes, the eyes of Dr. T.J. Eckelberg, the green light at the end of Daisy's Dock. And there'll be a couple more symbols that are coming up. Oh, Gatsby's Mansion is another symbol. And so basically you're gonna do a little project where you choose one symbol and show us how it's significant in the novel. Okay, so I want you to put your notes where you're not going to lose them. Go ahead and put them in your notebook, and you can